You're watching BCTV. We're all about Branford. You're watching BCTV, Branford Government Television, a service of Branford Community Television. This program is brought to you in part through the support of the town of Branford.
Good evening. My name is Peter Basserman, and I'm chairman of the Branford Inland Wetland Commission. Tonight it is January 8th, 2026. It is 7 o'clock. This evening's meeting will be conducted as a virtual meeting using the Zoom platform, and is being held in accordance with Connecticut's Public Act 22-3. As well as the inland wetland regulations for the town of Branford. Documents referred during the meeting are available on the town's OpenGov portal or via the agency's webpage. The agenda for tonight's meeting was filed on January 6th and is posted on the town's website. Links to the materials related to tonight's meeting are included on the agenda. Branford's Community Television channel will be recording and broadcasting tonight's meeting. We're thankful for their participation to the community as large. As a reminder, those attending or speaking at the evening's proceeding, please be conscious of positioning your camera so that your face is visible on the recording. Also, to ensure an accurate and complete record of the discussion, each time a statement or comment is made, please indicate who is speaking. This applies to any party wishing to participate, and you can use the raise your hand feature to indicate the desire to speak. Once the meeting has begun, you might consider muting your microphone. This commission has the responsibility and authority to apply Connecticut statutes and Branford's inland wetlands and watercourses regulations to matters it considers. This commission's role is limited to the protection, preservation, and regulation of inland wetlands and watercourses and any land use activities that would likely have a significant adverse effect on those wetlands or watercourses. The commission cannot consider matters outside of those areas defined in our regulations and seeks to apply those regulations consistently and uniformly in its considerations. We'll now take a roll call of the commissioners on the call. When I announce, please indicate by saying present. Commissioner Goklowski.
Commissioner Goklowski, present.
Commissioner Boda.
Commissioner Boda, present.
Commissioner Begeman.
Commissioner Begeman, present.
Commissioner Armstrong.
Commissioner Armstrong, present.
Commissioner Papatonis.
Commissioner Papatonis, present.
Commissioner Sotomayor.
Commissioner Sotomayor, present.
All right, we have seven commissioners that indicated their presence. All of them are seated, able to consider discussions and vote. Also, we have two staff members with us, Jamie Frederick. Yeah, I see. Okay, you got it. There you go. And Olivia Sandberg.
Present.
Okay.
And Heather Gwinnell.
I'm sorry?
And our zoning/wetland enforcement officer, Heather Gwinnell.
Oh, Heather.
Wetlands enforcement.
Thank you. Let's see. Is there any commissioner seated who needs to recuse themselves from any of the items on the agenda this evening? Does staff have any changes to the agenda that was filed?
Not at this time.
Okay. First item of business then is the approval of the minutes. We have 3 minutes to approve. First up, December 11th, 2025. We have a regular meeting minutes. Again, these were posted on the website and sent to the commissioners. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
This is Commissioner Begamon. I'll make a motion that we approve the regularly scheduled meeting minutes from 12/11/25.
And hopefully there's a second out there.
Commissioner Gokowski, I'll second that motion.
All right, as indicated previously, for consistency, we'll do a roll call vote on each of these minutes. Commissioner Gokowski,
Commissioner Gokowski, aye.
Commissioner Boda,
Commissioner Boda, aye.
Commissioner Begeman,
Commissioner Begamon, aye.
Commissioner Armstrong,
Commissioner Armstrong, aye.
Commissioner Papatonis,
Commissioner Papatonis, aye.
Commissioner Sotomayor.
Commissioner Sotomayor, aye.
All right, next up is the December 13th special meeting. This was the site walk that was on a windy day. Again, looking for a motion to approve the Saturday, December 13th special meeting minutes.
This is Commissioner Gokowski. I'll approve the special meeting site walk minutes for December 13, 2025.
And that was a motion. Do I have a second?
Commissioner
Commissioner Beg-
Papatonis, second.
Okay, again, a roll call vote. Commissioner Gokowski,
Commissioner Gokowski, aye.
Commissioner Boda,
Commissioner Boda, aye.
Commissioner Sotomayor,
Commissioner Sotomayor, aye.
Commissioner Papatonis,
Commissioner Papatonis, aye.
Commissioner Armstrong,
Commissioner Armstrong, aye.
and Commissioner Begeman.
Commissioner Begamon, aye.
Last up, December 16th, special meeting minutes. This is our most recent meeting. Looking for a motion to approve those minutes.
Commissioner
Mr.
Papatonis, I'll
Commissioner-
make a motion to approve the minutes for the special meeting on Tuesday, December 16th, 2025.
This is Commissioner Gokowski. I'll second that motion.
Great. Let's see, Commissioner Sotomayor,
Commissioner Sotomayor, aye.
Commissioner Papatonis,
Commissioner Papatonis, aye.
Commissioner Armstrong,
Commissioner Armstrong, aye.
Commissioner Begeman.
Commissioner Begamon, for the record, I reviewed the minutes. I was not present. I reviewed the minutes and listened to the video, and I approved the minutes.
Great. Commissioner Boda,
Commissioner Boda, aye.
Commissioner Gokowski.
Commissioner Gokowski, aye.
Okay, the minutes were
And
all.
Chairman Basserman, what about you?
Yeah,
If you voted on any of them.
all of
Aye.
them. Thank you. All right, we have a public hearing next up. BRIW 25-1001, Chestnut Street Bridge, replacement of the Chestnut Street Bridge over to Branford Supply Pond. This is a continuation from our December 11th meeting. As I understand it, there was some additional information that needed to be provided. The applicant has asked that we continue this to the January 22nd meeting. Does any commissioner have issue with extending BRIW 25-1001 till January 22nd? Before we close this item, is there any member of the public who is on this call for this item who would not be able to make the January 22nd meeting? Okay. Next up, item 5, application for review, Inland Wetland 25-3, 14 Long Point Road, replacing the existing septic tank and modifying location.
I guess that's me. Good evening, Jim Preddy, Criscolo Engineering, 420 East Main Street in Branford. Yeah, so this is relatively simple. They just need to replace the septic tank. I'll share my screen. So this is kind of a unique property. Their driveway goes down kind of along right away to Long Point Road, but the topography is such that it comes up probably about 30 feet above the road to the driveway here, and then this property steps back down to this lower area here, and Lavasa Terrace kind of skirts the outside of the property here. This historically, just anecdotally, this was a tennis court years ago. There used to be, from what I hear, neighborhood competitions. But in any event, one of the previous owners at some point in time dug out the tennis court and dug this pond. And you can see there, has been there long enough. You can see there's some wetlands here. But it's all maintained lawn all around it, really right to the very edge of the pond. The septic system is here. The old septic tank here, they're having issues with it. So they need to replace the tank. At some point, they had considered doing an addition off the back corner of the building. That's off the table now, but they may want to revisit it in 5 years or something. So we are relocating the tank slightly just to anticipate if that ever comes back. So the only real disturbance here is they'll have to come in with a piece of equipment, dig up the old tank, take it back out, put it on a truck, and then come back in, dig the hole for the new tank, basically fill in the old hole, and then get the new tank off of another truck and put it back in. It'll all be with rubber track vehicles, and we're doing this now so that they can get this done in February when the ground's frozen, and it'll be minimal disturbance and the grass will recover really without any trouble. And that's it. We're going to put some silt fence here. This is kind of the high spot here. It's almost like an island. So we have silt fence kind of going in on both sides with the opening for the equipment to get in and out. And that's it. They'll have plywood on hand in case there's any soft spots here, but quite honestly, I've been there numerous times. There never has been, but you never know. And again, they're going to do this when the ground's frozen to minimize any disturbance. That's it. That's all we're
Mr.
doing.
Peretti, Commissioner Goklowski, how are you this evening? Happy New
Good.
Year.
Happy New Year.
Question, the size of the tank you're removing is what size?
I believe it's 1,000-gallon tank, and can't see this. And we're putting in a 1,250.
1250. So you're increasing that. Now, what about any work to the leaching fields at all?
No, the leaching fields actually are in really good shape. I think they were actually replaced about 15 years ago. But they didn't do the tank, and for whatever reason, there's problems. They occasionally get some backup. So I think the baffles are broken off inside the tank, so it needs to be replaced.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Brady, this is Commissioner Boda. On the, I don't see a direction, but between the silt fence and that ponded area, it's just you have a single silt fence. And can't see very well the topography, but is it sloping down toward the pond?
Very slightly in some areas not. I mean, I think Jamie's been out there as well. It's very flat. Again, this was a tennis court all around. This whole area was a tennis court at one point. So it is very fair, very, very flat.
I guess this is Commissioner Boda. I'm wondering if it would make sense just on that side to double up the erosion control.
Along here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. We can do that.
Thank you.
Jamie Frederick in the wetland agent. I don't recall if I've been out to the site or not, but if you look at the site plan, it looks like on the quarter of the patio, it has the elevation at 8.4. And then along the silt fence, there's another spot elevation that's 5.6. So.
Yeah, like I said, there's sort of an island here, so it does kind of slope out here, but you can see here, this whole area is within a few inches all the way from 6 to 5.3 across here. It's kind of like that all the way around. But yeah, we could double up silt fence on this side here.
Mr. Preddy, Commissioner Basserman, do you have any sense of when the tennis court, the pond change took place?
I don't. I believe it's been at least 50 years because we've seen some aerial photos, but
Did you say 5-0?
yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you.
This is Commissioner Boda. Is there any track padding at the entrance? A need for it?
No, well, again, we're trying to do this when everything's frozen, so we don't have that sort of issue.
It's gonna rain.
It's gonna rain.
Well, I guess that would
well,
have to be a
this
quick
week.
turnaround on the permit, but would the plan be to, I mean, do contractors work that way? I mean, that it's like,
I mean,
they only come out if it's frozen, or do you schedule a date and what the weather is like, the weather is like?
No, they're gonna do this most likely between now and the end of February. It'll only take a couple of days. We'll do this whole thing anyway. But yeah, if it's raining, they're probably not going to work here anyway. You got to dig a hole into what's relatively low elevation, so I'm sure that they'll, if they're here when it's raining, it'll be a headache for them, so they won't want to do it.
Yeah. This is Commissioner Boda. The freeze sounds good. I just know we're hitting our January thaw now.
Yeah, and that's why I said most likely this will be done in February.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Basserman. Jamie, is there a staff report on this or not?
There is.
Before we get to that, just a question. I'm still getting used to this Commissioner Basserman software. The OpenGov portal, when I opened up this particular application, it says no documents. If the site plan for this, is it in the record somewhere?
Jamie Frederick in the wetland agent. I think I know what you're talking about. So let me kind of walk through the process real quick and screen share. So that everyone can see. All right, is everyone seeing the agenda?
Yes.
Okay, so on the agenda, you should be able to click the hyperlink. It'll bring you to the record. I cannot hyperlink directly to the files. So documents are documents that get issued. So that's basically going to be where you find the permit. You need to go to files to see the documents that are part of the application review. And from here, you should be able to see the different documents. So we have the authorization from the property owner, site plans, construction narrative, wetland report, and staff report. If it says no file uploaded, it means nothing's been uploaded. We do have some buckets, if you will, for various documents for different types of projects. We don't always require all those documents. So we do try and at least peg the project narrative and the site development plans as required. And then if the applicant is not the owner, we require owner authorization as well. So it is a little bit confusing because you log in and you see documents. This is no documents. I think the important thing to focus on is have been issued. And that hopefully that's enough of a reminder to go, oh yeah, I have to go look over at the other tab called files.
So this is Commissioner Basserman. So documents refer only to the administrative permit.
Correct. And any other letters that we auto generate through the system. Currently, the only one we have set up is a permit. The formatting options are pretty limited in the program. So, so scrolling down, I already have it open, but I'll open it again. And just click on staff report. If there's multiple versions, they'll be listed out here. There's only the one. And here it is. So application fee has been received. Application fee was based on the area of activity where the disturbance is proposed. Did not include the traveling through the wetlands. I didn't feel that was necessarily applicable given the precautions, but I also kind of wanted to disclose that in case the commission has any difference of opinion on that. We do have the wetland delineation. We do have the site plan that we were just looking at. Back in 2002, there was a permit for construction of a single family home. And in 2023, we had an aquatic pesticide application notification. The application would have been to deep. Silt fence to be installed to the east and west of proposed work. Plywood will also be on hand so large equipment can access the site with minimal ground disturbance. Proposal is to replace septic tank, no stormwater management requirements. Landscaping, no landscaping changes are proposed. Proposal involves driving over existing lawn areas with measures to minimize impacts. Area of excavation to be re-established with lawn after work is completed. Possible conditions for consideration include contacting the Inland Wetlands Department to request an initial erosion control inspection and final inspection. Work shall be completed when ground and weather conditions are appropriate to minimize any ground disturbance related to site access. As outlined in the project narrative, all areas of ground disturbance resulting in bare soil conditions shall be stabilized with spread straw and seed when seeded when seasonally appropriate. And I would also add to that, based on the comment earlier, that the silt prior to start of work, the site plan shall be revised to reflect double silt fence on the east side of the proposed replacement tank.
This is Commissioner Basserman. Mr. Pretty, is the pond self-contained, no inflow, no outflow?
There is an outflow. It's in the southwest corner. It does, over there. Yeah, it does. It's kind of an odd little thing, but there's a pipe that goes out to the sound from there. It's kind of built up so that it spills in. If the pond gets high enough, it spills into an opening and then pipes out.
And its source is continuation, Commissioner Bass. Its source is just stormwater, or is it spring fed, or do we know, or?
Yeah, we really don't. I don't really know. I mean, it has been. I have seen it going up and down, but there wasn't any obvious pipes entering the pond.
And I believe your comment was that the lawn goes right up to the pond.
Yeah, it does.
Amy Frederick in the wetland agent. I can screen share. This aerial image is from April of this year. So you can see the pond. The proposed accesses on below the pond and around over to the replacement tank.
Do we assume that there's likely fertilizer being used to maintain the lawn?
I don't know that for Jim Preddy again. I don't know that for sure, although the lawn was in pretty good shape, so possibly.
Not a subject of this sewer replacement, but
no, but I saw on Jamie's report at some point there was a looked like a permit to do aquatic pesticide.
Right, but that's in the pond itself.
In
right?
the pond, yeah. I think it greens up at times. There are some turtles in there I've seen.
It keeps getting better. Do we want to add to the staff report Commissioner Boda's suggestion for a double row of soil erosion controls?
Jamie?
This is Commissioner Boda. Yeah, I mean, Ms. Pretty was amenable, and if there's nothing else, I think we can probably. I'd be fine with making a motion unless anybody has any other additional questions.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Gokowski. I just had one quick question. Because the tank itself failed, is that correct?
Yeah, well, it hasn't completely structurally failed, but yeah, it's a problem.
So is it still operation or is it failed?
It's operational, but they have backup problems, I guess, from time to time.
All right.
We're good. This is Commissioner Boda. I'll make a motion that we approve Inland Wetland 25-314 Long Point Road, which is the replacement of an existing septic tank and modification of the location, and that we do so including the conditions for consideration dated Monday, January 5th, with the addition of an extra row of erosion control on the, goodness, I don't remember, on the pond side of the current erosion control measures.
Is there a second to Commissioner Boda's motion?
This is Commissioner Gokowski. I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? Okay, we'll take a vote. Commissioner Gokowski,
Commissioner Gokowski, aye.
Commissioner Papatonis,
Commissioner Papantonis, aye.
Commissioner Armstrong,
Commissioner Armstrong, aye.
Commissioner Sotomayor,
Commissioner Sotomayor, aye.
Commissioner Boda,
Commissioner Boda, aye.
and
Commissioner Begemon, aye.
I thought I got you, but Commissioner Begeman, aye. Commissioner Basserman, aye. I think that's 7. All right, motion passes.
Thank you.
Next up, let's see, Inland Wetland 25-6, 596, 612, 616 East Main. Construction of a rehabilitation hospital and associated driveways, storm drainage and utilities. We had at the last meeting, an agreement to send out an RFP for third-party intervention. And Jamie, why don't you bring us up to speed on that?
Sure, Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. So we sent the RFP out. We only received one response that was sent out to the applicant and the commissioners upon receipt. So at this point, the commission is tasked with making a selection. So given that there's only one response, the main concern is making sure that the response is reflective of what the commission was looking for. I would say that it appears that that's the case. They've highlighted everything that we had on our kind of bullet point list, so to speak. The company is CLA Engineers, which has provided review services for the commission previously. They do have a soil scientist and a professional engineer, a couple professional engineers on staff that can provide services. I'd say the biggest difference is in the hydrological connections. I don't think it's a huge change, but we had indicated hydrological connections to wetlands, alteration of flow volume, frequency of water quality, hydrologist to assess whether water body on site is groundwater fed. And they've responded with hydrological connection to wetlands, alteration of flow volumes, frequency, and water quality. They don't indicate that there's a hydrologist on staff, but we also hadn't identified a hydrologist as a professional that was required to respond to the proposal. So I don't think it's a disqualifying point, and I think that we can just stress that one of the items of concern is whether or not the pond is likely groundwater fed and whether or not the development is going to impact that. I think that's pretty much what the intention of that was, but I did want to highlight that so that it doesn't become a problem down the road. Any questions from commissioners regarding the proposal that was received? I know for some of you, it's the first proposal that you're reviewing.
This is Commissioner Boda. Jamie, was there, I did look through and I didn't see, but is there what's the difference between version 1 and version 2? Why are there 2 versions?
Oh, okay. So this is a case where the version part doesn't really make sense. So version 1 is the actual request for proposals, and then version 2 is the response that we received. So I would say, let me screen share so that everyone can kind of, again, I can. So if you look at the bucket, if you will, it says peer review, RFP and responses. Request for proposals will be uploaded here. Version 1, or that could have been worded better. I should say request for proposal is uploaded here, version 1, and any responses will be uploaded as new versions, version 2 on. If that's confusing, I can restructure it differently in the future. I can have a RFP and a responses folder, but what I'm trying to do is minimize the amount of different places that commissioners have to look for things. So versions may mean actually a new version, or it may mean a related document. And for the public hearing, we will try and have the exhibit document help explain some of this structure as well.
This is Commissioner Basserman. So are you saying that this is really a labeling issue?
Yeah, so version 1 is the request for proposals. Version 2 is the CLA response. So very similar. They did add, which I think it is beneficial, is specifying the review of sediment and erosion control measures, which is of course something the commission's always looking for. And they did also specify, I think, the project narrative and staging construction sequence, which was not specified in the RFP, but again, is something the commission usually is looking for. So I think that that's very appropriate.
This is Commissioner Begemon. In both the minutes and in the meeting, we did talk about, you talked about a hydrologist. And I know, Jamie, you said we didn't require one, but I'm just thinking, would it make sense to ask this company if they are qualified to determine whether by digging 3 feet, 4 feet, deeper, because they're gonna be digging deeper into this area, whether any source of groundwater could affect, the hydrology of this, because what we've heard is that in terms of the plan, and the drainage from the roofs and everything will go into this retention basin. But if there's a change in the hydrology, there's springs or whatever that they're going to be digging out, and there's going to be more water, that would change things. So is it worth asking them if because I don't think Robert Russo in his CV says he's a hydrologist, as you said.
Yeah, they don't mention hydrologist in that as one of the professions. And I was looking at my notes. I believe it was Commissioner Boda that raised the hydrologist comment. And I saw that and I was like, oh, we didn't talk about a hydrologist as being one of the professionals though. And in my experience, we've never had a hydrologist that we've hired, that we've gone out to request for peer review with. Definitely, like, hydrology in general has been a topic of concern, and I think both a civil engineer and a wetland scientist could speak to that within their own purviews. I would just also point out that a hydrological analysis, like a hydrologist to do a formal hydrological analysis of this, is a completely different scope of work, and quite frankly would probably cost addition of what this proposal in and of itself is. I don't know if that's true or not, but it would be substantial work. It would be a lot of groundwork, a lot of field work, to truly investigate the site. And if that's information the commission wants, I think that might be something to pursue as conversation with the applicant about. But they're two very different scopes of work. And I wasn't really sure what was
the other thing is this is the only one we have. If that additional work is either not available from CLA or they determine, as was just mentioned, the scope of work, and we lose this expertise or all the other areas, that's problematic.
And that might be a question to ask the peer review team in addition to the applicant, is whether they feel that further analysis is warranted.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Begemon. In the kind of overview of what the company does before you get to their resumes, they mention hydrology. I,
Ye-
so I'm just, I don't know what, is there a way to talk to them and
Well, Jamie Frederick in the wetland agent, it does say hydrological connections to wetlands, alteration of flow volume, frequency, and water quality. So they are planning to review hydrology, but they're not planning to do a full hydrological analysis. That would be my takeaway. And I think that that's consistent with what the commission has asked for in the past. But I just wanted to bring it up to make sure that everyone was on the same page up front. Because, and I don't know, since I believe it was Commissioner Boda that brought it up at the last meeting, maybe she can speak to whether this is what she was expecting, or if she has concerns that should be flagged. But I just want to make sure that this is something that doesn't become a problem later when time is of the essence.
This is Commissioner Boda. I'm not super concerned about the lack of wording on their proposal, although I do think it would be helpful to have a just maybe Jamie, if you can have a conversation with them that just is a little bit about better understanding if there is any groundwater interaction with that pond, if that's something that either they can do in-house or, sometimes a company like this will subcontract, and that's not out of the norm for them.
I don't think that would be within the scope of this proposal. Just make sure that's clear. But I can certainly make sure that they're aware that the commission's concerned with groundwater interaction and how that may influence the pond and what information they have to address. I can stress that as part of any follow-up.
This is Commissioner Bassman. Any other assessments of the response to the RFP? So we have a public hearing scheduled for February 12th. Jamie, do we need a roll call vote to approve CLA as the expert for the commission?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. Yes, we will. I will just highlight a couple of things real quick. So as we had outlined to kind of round out the timeline that Chairman Basserman just presented, we indicated the selection would be made tonight. Notification would be issued tomorrow, January 9th. Per our practice, peer review does not start until we've received the peer review funds and the PO has been issued by the finance department, which we always try to do as quickly as possible. The report is due January 30th. The deadline to submit any materials of substance prior to the public hearing would be February 5th, and the public hearing is set to open at the February 12th meeting. So the CLA engineer's proposal does break out the review into 3 separate sections: the site walk and initial review of documents. We always generally ask for an estimate for a secondary review to make sure that they're able to look at any revised documents the applicant submits and provide feedback for the commission's consideration, and then attendance at commission meetings. So when you total that all up, the total review would be $13,500, and any unused funds get returned to the applicant upon completion of the review. And do any commissioners have any questions regarding any of that?
This is Commissioner Bassman. I guess the question I have is, I see that we have 2 meetings. If this required a 3rd meeting, how does that get handled?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. So it does say it assumes 2 meetings at 4 hours each. kind of optimistic that we can flex that time if need be across 3 meetings if that should happen. But absolutely worst case scenario, we would be able to kind of foresee that. And that could be added on based on the, let me screen share again, based on the on-call services. And I don't know if the commission wants to go ahead and authorize that should additional work be required. That can be handled via staff.
Mr. Wasserman, as a follow-up, just as a follow-up, when you said flex, does that mean if one of the meetings didn't require their service for the 4 hours, that could get scheduled for another time? Is that what you meant when you said flex? Thank you.
Yeah. So maybe it's 3 hours, 3 hours, and 2 hours.
Yeah.
I certainly hope we're not spending 4 hours nonstop reviewing the same application.
Right. Okay. Was there, I see we had a number of look-like members from the applicant. Was there an intent to do a presentation this evening?
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland agent, there's no presentation. We're saving the review of the application materials for the public hearing. They are present in case the commission had any questions and or in case they had any questions that might come up. I will just quickly identify that I believe we got an email back stating that they did not see any conflict of interest with the party CLA engineers that provided a response. So if the applicant wants to add anything to that statement or confirm that'd be fine, but.
Hi, sorry, this is Sarah Sharp on behalf of the applicant. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, my camera isn't turning on for some reason, but I just will confirm that we have no conflict with the CLA being hired for a peer reviewer, and we don't have any presentation tonight. We look forward to presenting everything at the public hearing.
This is Commissioner Basserman, and Sarah, you're okay with the dates as presented by staff?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Item 6, we have a application.
This is Commissioner Boda. I will make a motion that we accept the proposal by CLA engineers in response to Inland Wetland 25-6 rehabilitation of hospital.
Commissioner Goklowski, I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? Okay, we'll give it a go. Commissioner Sotomayor.
Commissioner Sotomayor, aye.
Commissioner Armstrong.
Commissioner Armstrong, aye.
Commissioner Papantonis.
Commissioner Papantonis, aye.
Commissioner Begeman.
Commissioner Begman, aye.
Commissioner Boda.
Commissioner Boda, aye.
Commissioner Goklowski.
Commissioner Goklowski, aye.
Commissioner Basserman, aye. Okay. Inland Wetland 26-1, 195 Cherry Hill Road extension, in-ground pool modification, and a new retaining wall. This may be agent approval. I believe that this, I think the information is on the OpenGov site. Any additional information we received, Jamie?
Jamie Frederick in the Wetland agent. So there was a application not too long ago for a single family residence that included an in-ground pool. The property owner, now that the house has been built, is looking to modify that layout a little bit and install a retaining wall. The closest activity is 50 feet away from the wetlands. I think this is probably something I can do administratively unless the commission wants to take a look at it. Does any commissioners have concerns or want to take a quick look at the plans to help identify whether you have any concerns?
This is Commissioner Sotomayor. I noticed when I tried to access the project narrative, it says the document's not there. It says in progress. And then also when I look at the location on the Branford Town GIS, it doesn't show any wetlands around there.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. So yeah, the application came in less than 7 days prior to the meeting. So we're still kind of working on getting the materials. And there is some more information that I'm looking to get from the applicant. I don't think that it's necessarily something that needs to come before the commission, but certainly I'm kind of here asking for permission rather than just making assumptions. So we do not have a project narrative. I have talked with the pool company, the property owner, and the engineer regarding the project. So I have a general understanding of what it is they're proposing to do, which is what I'm basing my decision off of. I'm not just, off the cusp of my head going, this looks like something that probably could be done administratively.
This is Commissioner Goklowski. I don't see an issue by allowing this to be an agent approval. I'm sure Jamie will, if there was an issue, she'll stop it in its tracks pretty quickly and then bring it before the commission. So I have no problem with her doing that.
Any other discussion, Commission? Any other concerns from the commission?
No.
Okay. We don't need to vote on this, correct?
No.
Thank you. Okay. Item 7, jurisdictional ruling requests, JRIW 25-1, 2 Tipping Drive, removal of invasive vegetation along the drainage swale. This is a continuation from our previous meeting. Do we have, again, any update on this from the previous meeting documentation?
Yeah, Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. So since our last meeting, I met with the representative out at the site to kind of take a look at what it is they're proposing to do. I was a little bit concerned because the project narrative mentioned tree removal in addition to invasive species management. So real quick, I'll point out, I did take a Google Street image before I went out there. I did take some pictures, but I didn't get them in the file before the meeting. There's this, I believe it's an ash that's dead near the power lines that they're looking to potentially remove, or at least ensure that they have the permission to remove should it become necessary. And then further back, so you can see the catch basin here, and it opens up into a drainage ditch / water course. And they're looking to manage the invasive species, and they plan to plant natives kind of as time progresses and conditions allow. There are some Norway maples and some tree of heaven as well that they're proposing to remove. So they're trees, but they're also invasive trees. The company proposing to do the work is All Habitat, so I'm very familiar with what they're proposing to do. Here's the project narrative. Commissioners have not had a chance to review it previously.
This is Commissioner. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to comment. I think the calorie repair technically isn't on the invasive species list, but it's definitely on the research list, and a tree generally considered of concern. So I wouldn't personally take any issue with managing that species.
This is Commissioner Begeman. So if they're asking for a jurisdictional ruling request, there's no planting plan here, because if it's okay that way, right? Without a planting plan, because if it's
as of right, then it's as of right.
Yeah.
But the fact that they're planting, I'd say, is a bonus. It's not necessarily required. Yeah. That being said, the commission has in the past requested that planting plans come back for their review, so that way you can make sure that they're planting appropriately, and that also would be considered an as of right activity. If that's something that you feel is warranted, you could either have that come back to the full commission, or you could have have it be for staff review, either could be acceptable.
This is Commissioner Basserman. Jamie, the cutting of the trees would be with some kind of hand saw? No equipment brought in?
No equipment would enter the water course. I'm not sure exactly the means for the tree removal.
I didn't see it in the narrative.
Yeah, I like I said, I don't know. I know that there's no equipment entering the water course. Beyond that, I can't tell you how they're planning to remove the trees. And I know that they weren't planning on cutting and leaving the stumps. The tree of heaven would be treated to help prevent regrowth.
Can you put that picture up again? And identify again, if you would, this is Commissioner Basserman, which trees are coming down?
So this is the one native tree.
Yeah, I got that.
And unfortunately, I don't have a picture of the tree of heaven and the Norway maple. The Norway maples are not large, I would say. I'd say probably the largest in diameter is 10-ish inches. But that's the largest one. Most of them, I would say, are closer to 6 inches in diameter, and they are pretty close to the building. So you can see some of these trees are pretty much touching the building. And then the tree of heaven are further back. I think particularly knowing that we've got spotted lanternfly and that's their preferred tree, you know, it's beneficial to address those when possible. And there is like a stand of the tree of heaven, so it would be good to get it addressed.
Gotcha. Is there anybody on the call for 2 Tipping Drive?
There's nobody on the call this evening. Or at least I was told there was nobody on the call.
This is Commissioner Goklowski. Are they planning to do the work before the springtime?
They're planning to do the invasive species management in the winter. The tree removal, aside from the removal of the one dead tree may or may not occur. And then planting would occur in the growing season.
Okay, thank you.
So this is Commissioner Boda. So I've gone to section 4. Jamie, you want to pull up section 4 so everybody's on the same page?
Yep, I'm working on it.
And so we have 4.2, following operation and usage shall be permitted as a non-regulated use in wetlands and water courses, provided they do not disturb the natural and indigenous character of the wetland or water course. And so 4.2A, conservation of soil, vegetation, water, fish, shellfish, and wildlife. And I would assert that this kind of work of removing vegetations, invasive vegetation and replacing it with native vegetation falls under conservation of soil, vegetation, water, and wildlife. And so I would move that this is an as-of-right activity. Is there a second?
If that's a motion, this is Commissioner Papantonis, I'll second it.
Thank you.
This is Commissioner Bell, just a comment. It's interesting that safety is not part of 4.2 at all. Any other discussion on JRIW 25-1? Okay, the motion is that this is an as of right. Commissioner Sotomayor,
Commissioner Sotomayor, aye.
Commissioner Gokowski,
Commissioner Gopowski, aye.
Commissioner Armstrong,
Commissioner Armstrong, aye.
Commissioner Papantonis,
Commissioner Papantonis, aye.
Commissioner Boda,
Commissioner Boda, aye.
Commissioner Basserman, aye.
Commissioner Begeman, aye.
Begeman, aye. Okay,
This is Commissioner Boda. I would just, I thought that there was a safety one. I wasn't reading it with that lens. But if there's not, I was also going to suggest maybe Jamie, if you're keeping a list of possible future changes, or additions that might be in there. And the other thing that's not specified in there is the removal of invasives and replacement with native vegetation. I think that's worth a discussion in any future reg revision.
This is Commissioner Begeman. I thought we had one similar to this where we were something about gardening, and I don't see it here either. So
There
That's
are
a
two
different-
sections
Okay.
that pertain to, there's as of right and non-regulated. So there's grazing, farming, nurseries, gardening is a part of section 4.1. I will just point out for the commissioner's sake that we do have a general tree removal guidelines document, which hopefully is beneficial to property owners in saying if there's a hazardous condition on your property, address it so that it's not hazardous. We don't want somebody to have a tree fall in their house because there was a storm and we weren't available. But I did take notes on the safety and invasive species. I will also just quickly identify for commissioners that section 4.1 and 4.2 are very reflective of the state statutes. So that's part of this language is almost verbatim from the state statutes. But that doesn't mean that the commission can't supplement it. You can't go less, but you could go more.
okay. No enforcement. Item 9, Inland Wetlands 170705 for other business, 250 North Main, Retail Development Associate Site. Improvement Phase 2, we have a mitigation monitoring status report. Jamie?
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent. So, as I'm trying to think of where to start. So this project has been ongoing for some time. Phase 1 was closed out by the commission, I want to say a couple of years ago. Phase 2, we received 5 years of monitoring reports, and at the end of the 5 years, the monitoring reports were not documenting success with the success standards. The commission determined that essentially they were generally satisfied with the survival rate of the plants, but that you were concerned with the unsuccessful management of invasive species. So you continued the monitoring for 2 years to address invasive species management. We've received those 2 reports. They have both kind of indicated that invasive species are continuing to increase or were at the time of the inspections. After receiving the first report that didn't document great success, I followed up with the property owner and indicated they probably want to pursue other alternatives to help ensure that their invasive species management is more successful if possible, hiring somebody that is versed in invasive species management to conduct that work. It's my understanding that this past year they went ahead and did that. And I know that we have a number of people here present to present to the commission if you have any questions, and I'm sure to kind of just provide a summary from their vantage point as well. So unless there's any questions from commissioners, I guess I would probably hand it over to them.
Sounds good. Who speaks for the applicant for the monitoring report?
And that would be me. For the record, John Schmitz, civil engineer with BL Companies, 355 Research Parkway, representing the applicant. Also with me tonight is Jennifer Benno with Soil Science Environmental Services. She's the project biologist who completed the report, the mitigation review, and also Dan McGowan, who is the person tasked with controlling this year the invasives. Jen can answer any questions regarding the report. There were 3 standards that we're trying to hit, success standards in phase 2, which basically, in summary, one was to have a certain survival ratio for the wetland plantings, which I think we were able to hit with the plantings in the wetlands. The second was to try to do our best to not quite eradicate, but to control the invasive species that are on site. And then 3 was to control some of the erosion controls in some of the area where we were creating new wetlands. Phase 2 included, going back 7 years now, included about 10,000 square feet of wetlands impact, direct wetlands impact, meaning that at the time we were filling that. And so we were looking at a 2-to-1 ratio. So we created 20,000 square feet of wetlands, and that's where the monitoring occurs, is in that new 20,000 that's by and large has been successful. The hurdle has been trying to mitigate the invasive species. Unfortunately, there are wetlands, or there are invasive species surrounding us on both the left and the right side of the project, where the funeral home is, then also down on the north side where United Tire is. So it always creeps in, but what we've been trying to do is reduce the amount of invasives in the wetland creation area itself. I know the report did document a number of native species or volunteer species, which are basically, I think there was 19 trees that were counted that were not planted by us. They weren't part of the project, but due to the success of the mitigation, we've seen these volunteer trees that have grown up, and some of them are 10 feet tall or so. So those should continue to propagate and to enhance the wetland area that's there today. So again, we've been working on it for phase 2 for 7 years now, and we'd like to kind of close this out. We're going to continue to monitor internally what we're doing and look at things, because obviously the site has been prepared for development. So we're certainly looking for a development proposal in the near future, which will really get everything going with stormwater and the rest of it. But I know we would come back for any future applications in that order. But again, tonight we're just here for the monitoring report and to answer any questions about the last 2 years.
Commissioner Bassler, what's a volunteer tree?
I'll let Jen address that.
Great.
Good evening. For the record, Jen Benno, biologist, wetland scientist with Soil Science Environmental Services, and our office is in Rocky Hill. You have to excuse my appearance and how I sound. I was unfortunate enough to catch one of the viruses going around. So luckily we're all on Zoom and not in person. So the volunteers, this is what I'm calling just native species, or it could be invasive species that volunteer into the area. But right now I'm calling them native species that are volunteering into the area like by themselves. So that's what I'm referring to as volunteers. And the volunteer species that I'm seeing out there, or I have seen out there, let me find it. Like cottonwood, there's some alder shrubs, silky dogwood, staghorn sumac. Those are all in like the 6 to 10 or 12 foot range. And then there's also some red cedar and gray dogwood that are volunteering in. The red cedar grows real slow. So, what I was finding out there was only about 6 to 12 inches, but they are volunteering into this area. So that's a good sign.
Jamie Frederick in the Wetland Agent. I did prepare a memo. I didn't get it prepped until today. It is in the system, and I did send it out to John Smith earlier today. I can screen share that. The commission would find it helpful. Ultimately, in my memo, I can't overwhelmingly say that it meets the success standards that the commission was looking for, in the sense that the reports do identify that invasive species are increasing. However, there are benefits identified in the reports as well regarding the native volunteer plants. And I am encouraged by the fact that they have moved forward with a more aggressive invasive species management regime this year. I don't know if the commission wants to inquire more information about that and kind of what their long-term management goals are regarding invasive species management. I think that those two items might be beneficial for consideration.
This is Commissioner Begeman. We heard that in 24 and the report in 25 that they were increasing, but I'm a little confused. I think Mr. Schmidt said that this year somebody else was addressing the invasives. So is there any update on the invasives at this point?
Right. I just like to ask Dan Gowan. He could say a few words because he was out there this year chemically treating the invasives. I think in previous years it had been more of a program to cut the plants during the year. This year I think we used some chemical treatment to try to eradicate as best we could. So I don't know, Dan, if you want to say a few words.
Yeah, thank you, John. Dan McGowan with McGowan Ecological. Yeah, I was hired by the applicant to go out there to take a look at these invasive species. As John just mentioned, they had been doing some mechanical control with mowing and et cetera. They did do that this year as well, which is really good, especially with some of the invasives like mugwort that are there, and just seed suppression. But I did go out there in early October and treated a lot of the invasives that were there. There was the mugwort that had regrown. There's Phragmites, there's Japanese knotwood, but those were all treated this October. And I have talked with the owner with a plan to go out there in the spring to do regrowth. So there is a plan for a second application to continue the success that I'm sure that we had this fall.
This is Commissioner Basserman. Question on the use of the chemicals. Does this require a deep sign-off, application, license, all that kind of stuff?
To do commercial applications, you have to be a certified pesticide application business with certified applicators, of which my company and myself have those licensing. And so yes, the chemicals used were labeled for aquatic use, labeled for site use, and the proper selection of herbicides for the species to be controlled.
But as a follow-up, you don't need individual license per application. As long as you're certified, you can do that at any point.
The licenses restrict you to types of herbicides. There's arborist license, landscaping licenses, right-of-way licenses. So there are some restrictions to that. You need a DEP permit when you're making applications to waterways. If you're going to be treating a pond or direct applications to the water, emergent herbicides in a terrestrial, semi-terrestrial setting like this don't need a specific DEP permit.
So
though I
again,
did,
timing wise, as you see the invasives emerge at some rate, you can get out there without having another piece of paper.
Correct. You know, yeah.
Thank you. Again, Commissioner Basserman, if this continues to be a non-developed piece of property, what's the expectation if you were to look, 2 years down the road as to how the invasives are going to be managed?
I'll leave that to Dan. I mean, assuming that all things remain the same, I think Dan will be out there, next year, and to continue what he's been doing.
Yeah, I mean, speaking with the applicant, the owner of the property, he seems, we finally were able to connect. I think he's been searching for someone like me for a number of years. It's kind of few and far between the companies that do this sort of work. I was able to get out there this fall. We have a plan to go out there this spring, and like John said, he seems committed to treating this property and helping these plantings and volunteer species survive.
Commissioner Basserman, Jamie, what did the original monitoring report indicate, the term would be, and where are we with that term?
So the initial permit stated that monitoring shall be for 5 years, but could be extended not to exceed the life of the permit. Trying to remember if I didn't put the exact language in here. But that's some fairly standard language the commission puts in. So we did get the 5 years of monitoring, and the commission did extend for 2 years. And we've received those 2 years of reports, and that's where we're at currently.
Jamie, this is Commissioner Bode. Are you saying that we could be talking about this in 2031?
So in the memo, I mentioned that the permit expires in 2032. So what I guess I'm identifying is that theoretically, if the commission thinks it's warranted, you could continue to extend the monitoring period. So yes, would be the answer to your question if you feel that it's appropriate.
Well, I mean, there's a new plan with the invasives, and we can get those back because we know that total eradication of invasives is not a likely result, but rather the ongoing management. And so if Mr. McGowan has got a plan and he's working on it, then we'll just keep working on it.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. So if the commission is looking to continue the monitoring period, I think that we should specify another period of time that you're looking to hopefully feel that you can might be able to wrap up the monitoring, and also what it is you're looking for monitoring. So at this point, McGowan Environmental or Ecological has been hired. Would a report from that firm identifying progress made be sufficient? Would you be looking for a full report regarding all of the success standards? I think those are important guidelines for the applicant and staff to make sure that things remain moving in the correct direction.
This is Commissioner Bode. You said we the plantings, between the plantings and the volunteers, I know that wasn't that long ago, but the evening is already starting to get on, and I didn't recall if it was close to that 85%, if you included the volunteers.
So Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent, I believe it is close to that 85%. And I think when the commission was reviewing this in 2023, the the volunteers were considered and kind of that percentage was deemed satisfactory, with the main concern being that the invasive species be reduced. Because at that point, the reports were reflecting that the invasive species coverage was increasing. And so that was obviously a concern. So the main goal was that the amount of invasives decrease and the amount of natives increase. And it sounds like the amount of invasives has been increasing. So I think continued monitoring should likely focus on that same target of reducing invasive coverage, if that's and that report should really kind of focus on that aspect.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Boda. I agree. I mean, I think with the reduction in invasive coverage, that would enable those natives to get a stronger foothold and potentially end us in, ideally end up in a nice feedback loop where you're just with fewer invasives and more native volunteers that will just continue. But it would be helpful to continue the reports, which would give the permittee ongoing reason to keep Mr. McGowan's work toward invasive removal going.
Jamie Frederick in the Wetland Agent. I do want to kind of expand on one comment that Commissioner Voda made a little while back about invasive species management is ongoing and full eradication is hard to envision, especially when you do have invasive species resources on adjacent sites in a water course. I think the main concern here is the fact that the invasives are not reducing. So we're not necessarily looking for full eradication, but we do want to see that there's a reduction and that those volunteers and the plants that were planted are able to thrive. I do want to indicate, I believe that the property owner had his hand raised. If we want to.
Yes, good evening. This is Robert Sachs for the applicant. How are you? I just want to go into the fact that this is actually the second phase of this wetland mitigation. We've been doing this for over a decade. And why it's okay to come back one night, we're in the tens of thousands of dollars of monitoring for this project for basically we're down to a few plants. And that doesn't stop us from our obligation to continue to monitor this place ourselves. And we hired the end to continue dealing with the mitigation, and we will be back in for another proposal. So you'll get another bite of the apple, but at some point we want to really be let off the hook here with this monitor. I mean, we're really just bleeding money for not a lot of results here. It's not going to stop the influx of this mitigation that we're doing, which we're going to continue that. But to make us come back here every year and spend 10 grand a year is not really that. It's not fair. It's literally been, I think, 12 years now.
This is Commissioner Basserman. Mr. McGowan, is it likely that in 2 years with your chemical treatment that we could achieve the original target numbers?
I heard 85% survival. I think I heard that we're at that. So I mean, I think yeah, the native plants that are there are going to continue to grow and thrive. It's just getting more volunteer species into those spots where the invasives are now. And yeah, no, I think we're going to have great control over what I did this fall. We're going to see a great reduction in the invasive population with the retreatment in the spring. Those numbers are just going to get better. And any funding that could be spared from mitigation and spent on actual control is a win. But yeah, I think for my part, yeah, we'll see very good control of the invasive species.
This Commissioner Basserman, does any commissioner have issue with extending for some period? I've heard, I think 2 years, the monitoring for 250 North Main Street. Do we need a roll call vote on this,
Uh,
Jamie?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. Again, I want to comment if the commission is looking to continue the monitoring to identify what it is you're looking to the monitoring to cover. So in the past, we've received reports from wetland scientists, botanists, and from invasive species management companies. So it seems like the main goal is invasive species management.
Yeah.
Mr. McGowan is providing a report of actions taken and successes observed, something that your company could do.
Yeah, I'd be happy to provide that the commission with that information.
So it'd be a more space, probably it would be a less involved report than the full analysis of plant counts and what the commission has received historically. Is that fair to say that that's kind of the direction this conversation is going in as to what the commission would be interested in receiving moving forward?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Boda. I would say yes.
This is John Schmitz again. I just wanted to mention since I think your memo, Jamie Frederick included, spoke about the bond amount, and the bond covered the plantings and mitigation. The plantings have all been installed and they've been in now for 7 years. So I was wondering if, at the very least, could the bond be reduced commensurate with the fact that half the work's been completed?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. I think at this point in the game would be consistent with past practice and would hopefully help take some of help allow that property owner to reinvest some of that into the actual work to be done on site. Especially since the commission has determined that you're generally satisfied with the planting success rate. And we're looking to focus on that invasive species monitoring or invasive species management.
This is Commissioner Basserman. Jamie, do we normally get a request and then deal with that as a separate matter?
We normally get a request in writing. I did add the bond amount to the memo because we did have on the agenda the consideration of compliance, and to me, it made sense to have it all be in one spot. I don't have a recommendation on what an appropriate amount to reduce the bond by would be. If the commission feels it's appropriate, you could request that be provided. And we do have 6 or 7 commissioners present. So hopefully at a later date, we'd have commissioners present that are familiar with this conversation where you could determine whether the proposed reduction amount is appropriate, and or I can try and quickly find the bond estimate and we can try and look at a number, but it is 822 and we do have other items on.
This is Commissioner Boda. I think it was really thoughtful of you to put the bond on there, and when I saw that, I was wondering if that was ultimately where this conversation was going. I think given the discussion that we've had and that, we can move on from the plantings and focus on invasive management, that the property owner would go back with his team and come back with a proposal for release of certain portion of the bond, and then we can hold the rest just as we continue on with the invasive species management, which is in line with past practice.
Right.
I don't think that we're going to figure that out right now here. So
is that acceptable to you, Mr. Schmidt?
Yeah, obviously the applicant's here can speak for himself. I mean, we'd be happy to look at the fees that went into the bond and work with staff to come up with a recommendation or provide a revised amount that can come back to you with.
Any other comments from the commission?
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent. So, if the commission is looking to make a determination regarding the monitoring, I feel that it'd be helpful to finalize that this evening if you're comfortable with that portion of the review, just so we don't have to dive back into this conversation at a later meeting. Basically, it sounded like you were looking to potentially continue the monitoring for, it sounded like 2 years, focusing on invasive species management measures taken and
Results.
results of those management efforts. If that's the case, it has been the commission's past practice to make a motion to that effect, and then staff follows up with a letter to the permit holder outlining the decision.
All right, well, I will try. Like to make a motion on inland wetland number 170705, 250 and 244 North Main Street, that the monitoring status for the property be updated and extended for 2 years, 26, 27, with the focus of the monitoring to shift to invasive management control and reporting, and the release of the portion of the bond to be calculated by the property owner and agreed upon with the agent, and that portion is based on not needing to do the planting plan monitoring.
Sounds like a pretty complete motion. Is there a second on that?
Yeah, Commissioner Gokowski, I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion or
Quick
amendments to that motion?
Question, is that authorizing staff to review the reduction request
Yes.
based on the bond estimate?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll vote. Commissioner Gokowski,
Commissioner Gokowski, aye.
Commissioner Begeman,
Commissioner Begman, aye.
Commissioner Boda,
Commissioner Boda, aye.
Commissioner Papantonis,
Commissioner Papantonis, aye.
Commissioner Armstrong,
Commissioner Armstrong, aye.
Commissioner Sotomayor,
Commissioner Sotomayor, aye.
Commissioner Basserman, aye. Alrighty. Next up, inland wetland 19-1001, 21 Summit Place, also known as 14 Summit Place. Multi-story residential building with community center and parking. Again, a mitigation monitoring status. A little different than the one we previously talked about. Jamie?
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent. So this is similar to the previous one in the sense of monitoring. The difference is the previous one was wetland and creation and enhancement plantings, and these plantings are relative to the stormwater basin management proposed on site. Again, they were to monitor. Let me see. I'm going to start with the memo that I prepared and then backtrack it. This one did not specifically account for extending the monitoring period, so I do want to identify that. It said the permit required 5 years of monitoring of the stormwater basin plantings, documenting at least 85% survival and control of invasive species. They documented 78% survival. However, they also had volunteered native plants, and reports have identified invasive species management measures that have been taken. The last report does identify a couple additional invasive species management items that they plan to implement in the spring. I think given the circumstances of these plantings and the findings of the report, that the commission and the fact that this condition does not specifically identify extension of the monitoring period, I think that they are in alignment with the goals of the success standards, if not the success standards specifically themselves. I don't know if the commissioners had a chance to review the monitoring reports. I can pull up the latest one. Start with Appendix A just to quickly show you. So this is just the basin area. Actually, I forgot I put a site plan or a aerial on the end of my memo. So this is the basin, this is the development, and this is the wetland of jurisdiction. And since we're not going to all read a full report right now, I'm just going to jump to the conclusion section. Where essentially they've identified that the site had stable, and they outlined the recommendations for continued invasive management moving forward. As I'm sure all the commissioners are aware, invasive species management never ends at 5 years. If you want to continue to be successful, it's always an ongoing battle. So, any questions, comments, concerns from commissioners?
This is Commissioner Bassman. Jamie, is this the 5th year?
This is the 5th year, yes. Rather than these plantings being in wetland creation areas and immediately adjacent, like I said, these plantings are relative to the stormwater basin that was proposed for management of the stormwater from the developed site.
This is Commissioner Begman. The report is recommending another round of treatment with
correct
sites
but I think you can dig yourself into a hole there, because like I said, it's never going to be just 5 years, 10 years. You're always going to have something that you're going to have to address. So I think the fact that they're identifying that there's additional measures and that they're planning to address them, I don't know if it's in the conclusions, but it does say, it's either somewhere in the report or one of the emails that I received, that they are planning to pursue it.
This is Commissioner Bassman. Let's say that they didn't indicate future maintenance. What would
then I would say that they didn't put it in there because they didn't want the commission to pick up on it. There's always going to be some maintenance needs.
I'm more concerned about not what we pick up, but what's the impact, on the basin?
So I think the management things that they're outlining are invasive species management. So I mean, if you were not to follow through on the invasive species management, you would have more invasive species. Hopefully, at this point, with 5 years, everything's established enough that those invasive species shouldn't really be out competing too much, with the exception of, given the listing of mugwort, potentially herbaceous vegetation. You could be increasing the seed source of those invasive plants that would be going through the stormwater system and ultimately potentially getting to the wetland. Granted, there's no direct connection of the overflow from this system to the wetland that I believe is 80 plus feet. As I recall, the upland review area was pretty close to the very limits of activity.
I guess my concern is after 4 years, we still had 42% invasive. And we knocked it down another 8% this last year. That's a pretty healthy percent invasive after 4 years of work.
Yeah, so that's mostly going to be the mugwort and the common reed that's in the pond. It's a continuous battle. Mugwort loves disturbed areas. You'll see it a lot along roadsides. You'll see it a lot along the edge of development. Invasive species is always an ongoing battle. You're
right.
Almost never going to be able to say you're done in 5 years. So I think the goals are to manage invasive species so that what's planted has a chance of establishing and ideally thriving. And I think another benefit of it is kind of embedding that thought process into the property owner's head so that hopefully they're on board to continue monitoring and managing those plants, especially since it has benefits beyond the ecological benefits to the wetland. It could have aesthetic benefits as well.
Jamie, this is Commissioner Goklowski. During the course of your dealings with this particular property, have they been playing by the rules? I mean, because we know it's an ongoing situation, but it always helps to know that the property owner is playing by the rules as well.
I haven't had any huge red flags. I will admit that the year 4 report indicated slightly below the 85% success, and I had intended to bring it to the commission at that point for some feedback, and the agenda was slammed, and then it fell off my radar. We have since kind of created a tabled items list to help prevent that from happening in the future. To that end, though, I feel like that is on me and that I didn't get it to the commission. And I do think that the volunteer plants that they identify, and the fact that they have identified invasive species management, and it does say, in the previous report, it was at 42% cover and they're down to 34%. So on this one, we are seeing a reduction in the invasive species. I think those are all things to consider.
Okay.
Unfortunately, when it comes to compliance with monitoring, it's pretty rare that we have the perfect ideal response. I'm not saying we shouldn't strive for it. I'm not saying that we shouldn't work towards it. As staff, I'm constantly noting things that I think we can do to try and improve our compliance. I think.
Well, it's also kind of hard too when the properties change hands and you have a new property owner, and then that property owner finds out that he's in violation.
Well, it can be, yeah. So putting that aside and focusing on the matter at hand, I do think that there is some nuance to reviewing compliance.
This is Commissioner Begman. What I think I hear you saying, Jamie, is that at the 5-year mark, we've got close to 85% plant survival, including native volunteers, and that the direction of invasives is going the right way. And I don't think there's much more than you can hope for. I mean, that's how I'm looking at it. That's how what I hear you saying, and it's kind of how I'm looking at it.
I think Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent, I think that is reflective of what I said, and yeah. But of course, this is up to the commission to determine, and I can't clearly say with 100% this is what we were looking for, but
This is Commissioner Boda. I have two questions. One, do you know if because this is this property is I'm assuming run by some kind of, they've got a property management situation happening based on the type of property it is. I'm wondering if, I know that we have, although I'm not sure as consistently incorporated that property management in their documents, there is requirement of invasive management. I don't know if you would know that without.
I don't know that without reviewing the full terms of the permit. And I would say if it wasn't part of the permit, it'd be hard to require it.
I'm just, I think that the goal of releasing it, I mean, it sounds like the other.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
It sounds like the other purpose for tonight is to let this go. Is that what the, is that what
well, my question for you is whether or not you think that's appropriate. I'm hesitant, but at the same time, I'm also trying to be reasonable. And I think one other thing I really want to point out to the commissioners is this is the 100-foot upland review area. The reason it really, all of the activity was outside the 100-foot upland review area. The reason why the commission took jurisdiction is because there is a slope here. And so there was concern during construction what might happen relative to the slope. There were no issues that I was aware of or saw regarding the slope area. So I think that's part of why I'm a little bit more okay with saying this is potentially acceptable, but it's ultimately up to the commission to determine. But I kind of wanted to put it into perspective. It's not like they filled a wetland and this is their wetland creation. And I do think that they do show some trade-offs for where they were not as successful with the I mean, we only highlight small success standards, right? Percentage of survival and management of invasive species. Management of invasive species is very open-ended, and planting survival is just looking at what they planted and how it did. So and this particular site, I remember there was one plant that did not take well, so they didn't want to replant it because it was all the same plant that died. Sometimes a plant isn't the right plant for the right space, and instead they had volunteers. I know that willow was one of them that came in, and so the report argues that should be an acceptable substitution for the plant that did not take to the site.
Okay. So I don't know. This is Commissioner Boda. Are we doing something with this tonight? I feel like we've been on it now about 20 minutes and I'm not sure. Are we making progress?
Long story short, we've received the 5 years of monitoring. So if the commission is satisfied that compliance with the permit has been achieved in regards to the monitoring requirement, the bond theoretically should be released because that has been complied with. So I guess my question is the commission satisfied with the monitoring, and do you think it's appropriate to release the bond, or is there additional information you want or additional action that you feel needs to be taken? We do not have anyone present from the permit team this evening, so I probably suggest that if you're on the fence, that we request additional information rather than jumping to make a decision if you're not sure how you want to proceed.
This is Commissioner Goklowski. Again, Jamie, during the course of your dealings with them through the mitigation process and monitoring, are you satisfied that they're doing what they're supposed to do to the best of their capabilities and probably will continue to do so based on their past performances?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. I feel like that's a bit of a loaded question.
they're required to do something as part of the permit. And I don't know that this is Commissioner Boda. I don't know that it's fair to ask Jamie to infer what a for-profit company is going to do once they're no longer under obligation of the permit. That's a big inference.
Yeah. Okay.
Continuing, Commissioner Boda, perhaps Jamie, you could look back at the permit and see if we did for that particular permit put in language of, you know, a property management continuing to take over responsibility for invasive / like the stormwater, because I know that we've done that in some developments, but I don't know that that's necessarily fallen under, it's definitely not one of our standard
Jamie
conditions.
Frederick and the wetland agent. I don't think it's a condition, but I could look at the application materials to see if it was part of their proposal.
Yes, Commissioner Basserman. The other thing, Jamie, is do we know, or can the party that's in charge here indicate that the treatment for the invasives would continue at least as it did in 2025, and then we're not going to see a curtailment, if you will, of what seemed to be successful in 2025.
Yeah, I know that I don't know exactly where in the report, but I do remember reading that they do intend to follow up with additional activities recommended in the spring. It actually probably is in the but I can look into the ongoing monitoring of invasives. Is that again the main concern here? Outlining a thing to identify for continued review at a later meeting.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay. So I'll let them know that it's continued, and I'll look through the materials and also see if I can get a direct response on what their intentions are.
And this is Commissioner Boda. You also mentioned it, but I had jotted down here. I think as you were, sometimes we have this like a standard for one application that we don't remember to put on for the other, which is why we have the standard language. And like with the previous permit, it was the 5 years and beyond. This one was 5.
I think, sorry.
And perhaps we can update that standard language that it's 5 years and beyond, depending on, you know, if they're in compliance. So I had that bullet, and then we should probably at some point sooner rather than later have a better language for what is a success criteria for invasives. So you just said, you know, we typically use 85% for planting plan as success criteria, and we there is nothing there. It's nebulous in terms of the invasive management. So it would be really helpful if DEEP has guidance or UConn has guidance on what is success that would allow us to be like, yeah, you're good, be free, take your bond back, other than a feeling, because this feels very feels too qualitative for the kind of discussions that we tend to have.
Noted and understood. Okay.
This is Commissioner Begman. I also just wonder a bit about the difference between a big place and a homeowner. You know, I really think that we're looking at a spot in time, like at 5 years or 3 years, whatever we're doing. We're looking at a spot of time to, you know, one point in time to see what's happening. We can't predict the future. We don't know how the homeowner is going to treat invasives. We don't know how private, you know, a management company is going to treat invasives. All we know is what's been happening from 0 to whatever year 3, 4, 5 is going on. And I think, especially with invasives, I think we need to think about where it is now and whether it meets the criteria and not so much what might happen in the future. That's how I'm thinking about it.
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent. I think that's useful, a good thought process to consider. I think also something to consider is how is the compliance or lack of compliance to the T with the success standards impacting what the commission was having reviewed, changing the impacts to the wetland or water course. And so, of course, if you don't have any invasive species management and everything that was planned to get out crowded, and all you have is a field of invasives because you went in there and disturbed and you didn't take care of your plants, that's a problem. You don't now just have an invasive field right next to the resource or what have you. That's not to say, that we don't want to strive for those success standards. And I do think that as staff, we've started to place some tools in effect that should hopefully help us catch these things and have solid conversations with applicants earlier on in the process, routinely, knock on wood, so that we're a little bit less in these nebulous positions. I do also think by trying to define some criteria and or at very least guidelines for consideration of success for invasive species management would be helpful for the commission and for permit holders so that they know what the commission is looking for. So.
Any other closing comments on 19-1001? Okay. Inland Wetland 200401, 367, 373, 375, 377 East Main, multifamily housing with commercial retail space. Again, a release of an erosion and sedimentation control bond. This one's been around a little bit.
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent. So this is the Old Days Inn property. Now it's Metro Star property. Construction has been completed for some time now. We have received three monitoring reports, 2 for the first year, 1 for the second year. The second year identified that some additional replanting needed to occur because, again, we had a plant that didn't do too great out there. So they decided to swap out the species and replant. So I went out there with our wetland enforcement officer, Gwinnell, to inspect the planting, make sure they did it, and that appeared to be okay. It was late in the season, so Heather will go back out in the spring to look at the plants once everything is in the growing season to kind of follow up and make sure that that looks appropriate. But while we were out there, I saw that the erosion controls, while we were preparing our materials, I saw that the erosion control bond was still in place. And so I recommended to the property owner that if they wanted to request release of the erosion control bond, that would seem appropriate. So I do have a memo prepared to that fashion. This project also has a planting and monitoring bond. And of course, since we're still in that phase, I would not recommend release of that portion, nor has the permit holder requested that. So this is another phased project. This is phase 1. There is no bond associated with phase 2. So the erosion control portion of the bond is $25,925. I'm satisfied that the site is stable and would recommend the release. I like the erosion control bond one. That's usually pretty straightforward. And of course, like I said, the planting and monitoring portion of the bond has not been requested and is not recommended for release at this time. Any questions, comments, or feedback from commissioners?
This is Commissioner Boda. Does anybody object to a motion to release the bond based on Jamie's inspection?
No.
This is Commissioner Boda. I make a motion that we release bond inland wetland 20.04.01 for the sediment and erosion control portion in the amount of $25,925 as the final build for the site has been received and the site is fully stabilized through the establishment of vegetation.
This Commissioner
Gokowski, I'll second that.
Fine.
Okay. No further discussion? Hearing none. Commissioner Gokowski,
Commissioner Gokowski, aye.
Commissioner Sotomayor,
Commissioner Sotomayor, aye.
Commissioner Begeman,
Commissioner Begman, aye.
Commissioner Boda,
Commissioner Boda, aye.
Commissioner Papatonis. Commissioner Papatonis, he's still with us? Yes. You're muted.
Sorry, I am. Aye.
And Commissioner Armstrong.
Commissioner Armstrong, aye.
Commissioner Basserman, aye. All right. Nothing need report on the agent or pools, Jamie?
Jamie Frederick and Llewellyn Agent, I'm happy to answer any questions if commissioners have them, but the materials are available at the hyperlinks.
Okay. Correspondence. We have some correspondence from Lorraine Esposito, who I see is on the call. I guess I'll open it up to Ms. Esposito for, I guess you want to make some comments this evening on the ongoing emails back and forth with the town.
No, it's not. I'm sorry, it's Lorraine Esposito, 71 Midwood Road. That's not what I wanted to come in contact. I don't know if you can see me, because can you see me? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, I can't see myself, but I'll just hope they see me. No, that's not what I wanted to comment on. What I wanted to comment on and to address you, and thank you for letting me do that, is that we have a pretty serious situation going on here with the number of stormwater discharges going into the wetlands here. And as I continue to pursue a remedy through various means, the situation becomes more and more evident that it's expanding. So there's at least 5 outpourings going into the wetlands. There's no documentation that any kind of environmental protection or controls have been applied during their initiation or have been instilled ongoing. And I know that there's a lot of confusion about who did what, when, where, and who's responsible. And I'm not professing to be an expert at anything, but I've done a lot to try to educate myself about the wetland regulations and what you all go through. And having sat through a couple of these meetings, a lot, you go through a lot. So I appreciate that it can be very difficult. So I have a perspective that when it comes to complaints, there's really, it's a very sort of narrow purview that is really kind of a 2-step process for you. And I could be wrong, but this is how it feels, that it's really focused on current and ongoing activities that you apply a 2-step process to. First step would be, is it a violation that we have to do something about? And if it is, then the second step is, to whom do we turn to remedy the situation or to issue an enforcement action to? And in this case, it's difficult. I grant you that. I've gone through an awful lot of freedom of information requests and all kinds of things, lots of questions, lots of research. And I can identify at least 5 of these outflows. And I can tell you that public documents do not reflect anything that is even close to a consideration for filtration, pollution control, sedimentation, everything that you just talked about today, with all these other things, nothing. And that pesticides and other chemicals are going in there, so unfiltered. So we do have a problem. And it is, as I read the regulations, and I'm really careful with all of the complaints I issue, I document the regulations that I'm associating with the violations so that I can explain it so that you could say, nope, you're wrong. That's not a violation, or it is a violation. So having heard nothing, I'm assuming I was correct in associating the regulations and the violations. So we have a problem. And now it comes to, who do we turn to issue a notice of enforcement to? And that's real dicey too. I grant you, there's not a lot of documentation that has been provided. But how far do we have to go to enable the process to start? Because what we do know is that it's part of a schematic that's been given to me by the engineering department. They claim these outflows as part of the stormwater system. So therefore, it's reasonable to deduce that the town would be who we turn to begin the process. And really, that's all we have to do. We see a problem, we start the process with an enforcement action. Then the process takes over and it handles everything else. Through this process, people come before you, they answer questions.
Maureen?
Notice that. So, I'm good?
I think you're back. Yeah.
Okay.
We don't have your video, but we can hear you.
Okay, good. All right. My computer's going crazy. So you start this process and it sort of takes care of everything else. I don't think the commission is necessarily supposed to be experts in property law or stormwater schematics or civil litigation or any of that, because the wetlands don't care about that. They're either being hurt or they're not being hurt. And so we just need to get the process started. So issuing a notice gives the stakeholders an opportunity to come before you and educate you, inform you, update you if we're wrong and we missed something, provide the information so that the violation can be solved. But the process can't start until we start it. And so I'm asking that we start this process, because it's really, I now have a quarter of an acre that is almost always flooded, and it's all wetlands. And it's not just me. This is now, I come to understand, the hydrological connection to the Farm River estuary. And so we have a whole nother set of rules and regulations. It's a whole nother big deal that we need to attend to. And we just need to get the process started. So that's what I've come here to ask you to do, is to decide if there's a violation. And I've given you more information than you want, but a lot of information and a lot of pictures and a lot of documents. There's a violation. So decide there is one, and then decide to take an enforcement action and let the process sort it out. That's what I'm hoping for. Thank you for letting me say that. I hope we can be constructive and collaborative from here forward.
I guess my concern is, what is the evidence that this body, as it affects wetlands or water courses, has received for review? At this point, I'm not sure what's been provided.
Okay, fair enough. It's Lorraine Esposito again. I've given, to the Wetland Agency, I have given 14 unique and fact-based, evidence-supported complaints. There's in 2 categories. And the one we're talking about, there was one for stormwater that is discharging into the wetlands. So there's 7
excuse me,
of
let me
those.
interrupt. This is Commissioner Bassman. What evidence is there? Is it words? Is there data? What constitutes what you just said?
Okay, so the evidence, images, video, pictures, where I can't get to all of it, because then I'd have to trespass, because a lot of these outflows are into private properties. But I have a private property. My property is receiving outflows from 3 of the 5. So I have lots of documentation about what's happening. Also, where the catch basins are that are flowing into it, the flooding, the dry river flows, the oil slicks, and the like. I have tons of information there. I also have public documents with schematics. So I'm sorry, Commissioner Basselman, go ahead.
Is there a site plan showing topography and all the other
Yes.
issues that this commission would need to consider?
Okay, so my understanding is this is a complaint. I am bringing to the attention of the commission that I have observed this violation, that there is a pipe discharging water into my backyard, let's say. That's just one of the 5. And I do have schematics that are from the town that show how now it's over 60 catch basins have connected into where this pipe is pouring the water into the wetlands. So
Wait,
topography, I'm not
can you-
sure, but
can you-
schematics, so much.
Can you pause for a second?
Sure.
So this is Commissioner Boda. Are you suggesting that the commission issue a notice of violation to the town?
Yes.
Okay. And
Because the town has they are their pipes. They have claim to them, and they are without any oversight, any filters, nothing, no buffers, nothing, no tidal gates, nothing. Just
okay. This is Commissioner Boda. So Jamie, I'm looking at the link which is in the Dropbox, and there's this MS4 complaint, and then there's a reference to 5 attachments, including the GIS storm system map with layers. But I don't see those attachments in the Dropbox.
may I just offer this one thing? That's right. The attachments aren't there, but what is there linked to the email that got me in front of you today, it's also in the Dropbox. There is a link to the GIS storm sewer map that I got from the engineering department that shows you where the discharge points are and what they're connected to. So it can give you at least an understanding of the magnitude. But as I was saying, it's a big problem. But you're not. I don't think that the Wetland Commission is supposed to be necessarily experts in stormwater schematics. What you see is there are absolute discharge points that have no protections for the environment. I have petitioned the Wetlands Department for all documents associated with the installation of any of these. There's none. There's none at deep, and the town can't provide any. So these are there, regardless of where they're transporting water from. Water is, without regulation and protection, pouring into this very large area from 8 Stone Street. There's two additional ones on Stone Street, one at 20 and one at 24. There's one at 49 Midwood and one at 294 Shore Drive. So those are only the 5 I can actually pinpoint. There are more I'm waiting to uncover.
And this is Commissioner Boda. You indicated, I think you indicated that there is not you haven't been able to get information on when those were installed.
I'm working on that. They're there. That's all I can tell you.
So I think, I mean, part of there's a few issues that as a commission, we don't I cannot remember ever issuing a notice of violation or a cease and correct to the town itself. I suppose that doesn't mean it can't be done. It would just be not precedented within the past 20 years.
Jamie, Frederick, and the Wetland. Yeah, sorry. I'll follow up.
And then I also see that you're looking at the MS4 compliance, which I think is we don't have jurisdiction. That's
I'm not asking for that.
Yeah, that's the state.
Right. I'm not.
So I mean, I'm curious, and I can certainly appreciate the significance of the issue. I'm not sure based on, like we would need more information about when those were installed, because if there's stuff that's installed prior to certain regulations, then like we don't go back. Although if it's something more recent, I don't know, it is a very complex situation. And I certainly appreciate the information that you've provided or try to provide. I can't, this link from the December 16th email is not allowing me to click on anything.
That came directly to you, so you could go to your inbox and get that as well.
I'm in
the email I sent.
Frederick and the Wetland agent. I will also screen share it now just so everyone can see it. So I do just want to identify the Inland Wetland Agency was established in 1974. So there's a significant amount of stormwater management installed in town that would not have been reviewed by the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency. The agency is also tasked with, applying fair and uniform enforcement. So I have received your complaints. I am trying to review them all, and consider, appropriate actions, that whether or not there's appropriate actions for the Inland Wetlands Agency, to pursue. And there was one other, and I do just want to identify the town's not exempt from enforcement action. I know that there has been enforcement action that has involved the town previously. And it's not to say that they're exempt and that they couldn't. It's just that we need to be able to identify what the violation is. And if it's just that we don't have a record of a pipe, that's not really enough. We need to have evidence, and be able to provide, what the problem is and kind of what we're ultimately looking for as a solution. Not the design of the solution, but what the general direction for a solution would be.
I appreciate that. This is Lorraine Esposito again. As I understand it, the age of the installation is not the issue necessarily. That it is an ongoing violation happening every day, that each day brings it back fresh. So this is happening every single day, and every day is a new violation. So age of it is difficult only to the degree that we're trying to understand how we got here. And I think that is a stumbling block that is stopping forward movement. But if you step back and think what we're here to do, it is to identify a situation and who needs to answer for it, and then let the process fill in all the blanks. I do understand that taking action with the town can be dicey. If it is actually one of those conditions labeled a conflict of interest for the commission. So, but if you're unable to take action with the town, and I can appreciate that, I really can, it is incumbent upon you to involve deep, to go to deep, to say, we have a situation and a conflict. We need you to step in as a third party that can then take this ball and bring it forward. So my thing is, nothing is going to happen until we do something to get the process started. And that I think we can do. So I urge the commissioners, I urge you, Jamie, to please share the documents that I have given to you. I get you that there's a lot of them, but it is that I am going so overboard to try to explain and provide evidence and facts so that you are enabled to act. So these 14, they're not all stormwater related. That's really the primary focus. The other half are on regulated activities of a property owner. Those are important too, but for another day. The stormwater management one, there are 7 of them just to wetlands. So what you've uploaded is just two of a few to the engineering department. But I tailor all of my complaints to the agency that I am submitting it to. So all of the wetland complaints that are revolve around the stormwater speak directly to the regulations of the wetlands and what is your purview. So I'm not asking you to be an engineer or a planner or a builder. I'm asking for wetland review. And so I encourage you, Jamie, to please share all of the wetland related ones with the commission so that you do know the evidence that I have for you. And then you can decide whether or not you have something actionable. And by the way, you just come out and look. Like, just come here and look. And that will give you a ton of information that informs step one. Is there a violation? And then step two, yeah, dicey. But if you feel that there's a conflict, there's an off-ramp for you. And you ask Deep to help out. Just, it needs to get started.
Miss Esposito, this is Commissioner Gukowski. The bulk of your complaint is that you have a lot of excessive water on your property. Is that correct?
No, that is not the bulk of my complaint.
Okay.
My complaint is not limited to my property.
Okay. All right. But you're saying that your property gets excessive water flow off of it. Is that correct?
It's yes.
Okay. How long are you recently moved there, or I don't know the history of you be owner of how long have you owned the property?
Since 2021.
Okay, so you've been there 4 years, so you've had a pretty good history. Why are you bringing it to us now? Why didn't you come to us a few years ago?
Okay, so I'm not sure, with all due respect, I'm not sure that factors into whether or not I have a valid complaint.
Okay.
But I will tell you, I have been, when you're a new property owner, you don't know what you don't know. And it was overgrown in the back. And it really, my awareness grew out of my civil litigation with the rear neighbor, Dan and Gritly Rabin, and over their claim of adverse possession on my property. And right next to the 18-inch metal pipe that is corroded and breaking and likely leaching all kinds of contaminants, but right next to it was another little PVC pipe. That was part of our civil litigation. That has never been part of what I have brought to the commission, but is right next door. And it was in 2023 that I first had to figure out which pipe is being claimed as evidence of use, which pipe isn't. And it was then that the town engineer identified the pipe as town owned. And so I didn't know that if it's town owned, I went like, oh, okay, it must be fine. I mean, I just sort of assumed it was fine. I didn't understand until the process went on. And it was really in May when I was brought before you for a claim by that same neighbor for cutting some Phragmites, and I had a notice of violation. And listen, I've never been accused of violating anything. So I panicked and I kind of went overboard. I was afraid that I would be held responsible for whatever degradation had happened to the property that I didn't cause. Like, I sniffed some Phragmites, which actually has revealed the flow from 49 Midwood, because I was hearing it. But I didn't want you to look at the area and go, oh my God, what has she done? So I brought it to the commission, the commissioner's attention, I thought then, in my response to the notice of violation, saying, gee, just consider that when you evaluate the condition of the land, there's this pipe discharging stormwater into my property. And that is when I started. It was in May. That's when I really started in earnest researching and trying to understand, looking for easements, all kinds of things. And it was all just the one pipe. And because of that one pipe, I gathered information. And before you is the schematic that has revealed a vast network and a serious problem. So I'm a little bit worked up. I get that. I apologize. But it is, it's a huge problem.
This is Commissioner Begemon, and I want to commend you on all the research you've done. And all the information that you found and the problem that you perceive. And where I don't think we may get anywhere is with trying to find somebody who's in violation in terms of the stormwater management. I think that kind of what we've been talking about is when they did developments 40 years ago, 50 years ago, that's how they dealt with stormwater. They put a pipe directly to whatever wetland was nearby. And that was the standard. And then more houses were developed. There's more hardening of the surfaces, maybe more water, et cetera, is happening. So what I'm hearing is a concern for the wetlands, which is valid, and wetlands commissions need to look into whether a wetland is being degraded, and if so, if it's what's the cause. But I'm not sure. So I think that we could take this in various approaches rather than trying to find out who's the violator. This may be the first of many as time goes on.
It's tricky.
I
get you. Yeah.
I'm not talking about trickiness. I'm talking about the approach, because I can see with increased rainfall, with increased development, with aging stormwater systems in a town, there may be other public complaints about changes that they see in a wetland, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's something for the Wetlands Commission to talk about. It's something for the town to talk about in terms of how do you go about investigating, and if there's remediation to be done, who does it, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I agree with the idea of finding who violated and starting it in that way. It's just my thinking right now.
Commissioner Reagan, I appreciate that so much. I understand that. My thinking was, it starts the process that you just described of figuring it out. But we have to first start it somewhere. And while I understand that maybe some things were installed pre-rules, okay, I get that. There are rules now, and there's no grandfathering for wetland violations. They are or they're not. So what happens is we need to just look at these outflows and figure out, not necessarily like, okay, I'm not saying you can't put any water near my property or in my wetlands. I'm saying we need to understand how much you intend, because the system is expanding, like not just with environmental change, but there's a new swale that was installed at 72 Midwood that is like Niagara Falls right into the system. It's like 1.5 miles away, but you follow those little blue lines, smack dab, it's going right into this area. And things like that are happening unchecked because we haven't begun the process to understand it and be able to control it or understand the limits that we're asking of any piece of property of the wetlands. The fact that it is,
Commissioner Basserman,
okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think what I heard is that some information has been provided, whether it's sufficient information or not. We haven't been able to spend the time, I guess, to determine that. Jamie has indicated that she's going to take seriously the information that's been provided, and ultimately we'll have to come to a decision as to whether we have jurisdiction based on that material that's been presented, or in fact, additional material will need to be presented for us to have that responsibility. Or if there is no inland wetland jurisdiction in this area, then your issue is going to have to be with the town.
Well, it's not going to be with the town, but I get what you're saying. And I feel confident that what I have provided the commission is substantial, and it will illustrate my thinking clearly. It's not only the 7 unique the complaints I've submitted to wetlands, but I copy wetland on all of them because the wetlands are ultimately the discharge point for these systems. So that's why you see the MS4 and the engineering and the planning and development, because each one of those complaints was tailored to that particular agency's purview. So they all overlap with wetlands. So wetlands has everything. God love it or hate it. I don't know. I know that you'd rather probably just not, ignore it. And can I just tell you, I'd really like to let you, but I can't, and we can't. And so I appreciate it, Jamie. I accept that your pledge is to take a good look at these things, and then please talk to me. Just tell me what you're thinking. Help me understand. I am a huge, powerful energy of collaborativeness. So I'm not looking to, it is not a confrontation I'm looking for. I want to solve this problem.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent noted, and I will just identify, I do look at the complaints as they come in to, as you indicated before, we definitely give a priority to any active ongoing violation. So, and by active ongoing, I mean
today.
Activity occurring, not discharge of stormwater.
But that's
per se. I mean,
count?
discharge of stormwater could be part of it, but discharge of stormwater from a storm system that was installed prior to, and I do not know the age of all these stormwater systems, and that's part of why I haven't gotten back to you on some of these things. It's hard to say whether or not anything that was installed prior to the Wetlands and Watercourses Act would in fact be grandfathered. It's not subject to that act. If they're looking to, if that system's being modified, then that modification would be subject to review. But there's, like I said before, a significant portion of the stormwater system in town that has been installed prior to wetland regulation and would not meet today's standards. Same thing, and that's part of why the Wetlands and Watercourses Act was generated. Same with the MS4 process. So it is a process of reviewing these problems and figuring out how to make things better in the future with the constraints of what development is and what direction development goes. So I am looking at those complaints. I will get you a response.
I get it. The only reason why I put so many out there is because in November when we had our meeting, it was so overwhelming that because I kind of just lumped it all at you, and I didn't give you the opportunity to understand anything individually. So that's why we went, okay, now I know what I have to do. And unfortunately, it was an inundation. Like the next day you got a complaint. So I tried to separate them out, which can be overwhelming, but it needed to be separated out, but then viewed collectively. So hopefully I've got them all out. You're not getting any more. So we're good. But please include me to the degree that you can. I really am a resource and a lot of energy and motivation to solve the problem.
Appreciate the time tonight and all of the time that you spent on this. Sounds like there's some additional work to do to determine whether we're going to be involved or not. So thank you again. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Jamie, anything else? Looks like the next item is adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
And hopefully a second.
Second.
All right, guys. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Branford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BranfordTV.org.